Hey everybody, it's Party Elite, and you might know me from my own YouTube channel where I cover all manner of strategic and tactical games, including Crusader Kings 3. Today I'm collaborating with Paradox Interactive to show you the ruler designer in Crusader Kings 3 and how it can enable all kinds of adventures right from the start of a new game. I'm playing without any mods or DLC enabled, so you can see exactly how wide open the base game is as far as creative options are concerned. For the purposes of this video, I'll be creating a classic warrior archetype, but with a dark twist. When starting, you need to choose your preferred start date and opt to play as any ruler or create your own. When creating a custom ruler, you can start in any region you could regularly pick from with all the same land and holdings as a regular start, but the custom ruler won't have any of the familial connections of the person they're replacing. So any base game titles you'd inherit from a dying family member, for example, will no longer be up for inheriting. You also won't have any siblings or dynastic history, needing to make a name for yourself instead. I'm going to select the Duchy of Spoleto as my home to give myself a challenging but not impossible start, and I'll dive into the ruler designer. I'll be playing as a heterosexual male, but despite being so close to the capital of Christianity, I'm actually going to be playing as a Muslim. My goal is to convert my realm to Islam and at least start to bring all of Christendom to its knees, so it's a good idea to pick something like Muhammadism as my specific faith to take advantage of communal identity and adaptive. The former will make it easier to convert counties to my faith as long as we share the same culture, and the latter will make sure vassals who don't follow my faith are less likely to rise up against me. In order to maintain the benefits of communal identity then, my culture will remain Italian, though I do have the choice of, well, anything else available in the game. When making a custom ruler, it's up to you whether you want to min-max your character's background and stats, or if you'd rather roleplay some intricate backstory. I like doing the latter primarily, but I'm definitely optimizing some of my picks here to ensure I don't get bogged down by constant faith-based rebellions. My neighbors will hate me enough as is, and that's why I decided to play as a duke that'll have some starting wealth and military strength. Playing as a count would be almost impossible, and playing as a king or higher would be a little too easy for my preferences. Let's go ahead and give ourselves an Italian name. In my head, my character's been pretending to be a good Christian Italian right up until recently, and he'd need an Italian name for that. Next up, we establish our dynasty, give it a name, a motto, and a coat of arms. Customization here can get very in-depth, and you can even copy, save, or share designs, but keep in mind that these decisions are entirely cosmetic, much like any decisions you make with regards to the naming convention or coat of arms for your previously selected title. Next, we'll change the appearance of our character. Here, again, we're working on a purely cosmetic level, with edits not having any gameplay impact, though they will impact what your children will look like and their children after them. The options here allow you to do all manner of impressive sculpting, as you can see here, allowing me to adjust the various key features to a great degree. As you might imagine, it's easy to sink a lot of time into this particular process, but as with the coat of arms, you can copy, save, and share the DNA of your character. Fortunately, I've previously taken the time to create a one-to-one replica of my own face, which I'll be pasting in here so we can move along. There we go. It's like looking in a mirror. With that done, we move on to the part of the ruler designer that relies on spending points. Any improvement to your character or changes that otherwise benefit a character and their dynasty will typically cost additional points, while any disadvantages or negatives applied to your character will cost negative points, giving you more room to add additional improvements. This point buy system is great because it naturally encourages you to look at character flaws, and the best characters will always have some flaws. If you decide to go beyond the 400 point threshold, you'll no longer be able to play for achievements, so the option is there to stack benefit upon benefit on your character, but it comes at a cost that you may or may not care about. I'm thinking we'll be in our late 20s, though the option is there to be a baby or to have one foot in the grave. This will impact your point cost and the options available to you during gameplay accordingly. Babies can't organize the assassination of kings, for example, and having one foot in the grave makes for a dangerous start. I'll keep my weight middling here, and considering I've managed to sneak this close to the Pope without being found out, I'm going to go ahead and say my education trait is Conniving Puppet Master. It's very expensive, but it'll make plotting a lot easier. Personality can have a huge impact on how easy or difficult certain tasks are to perform, and how punishing or beneficial it might be to take even the most seemingly mundane decisions. I'd say I'm certainly ambitious, but also a little paranoid. I constantly live in dangerous circumstances after all, and this helps reduce my point cost a little too. As you can see, these will both provide benefits to my ability to plot and scheme by increasing my intrigue stat. Finally, sadistic will further help me on that front, while making me a better warrior as well. Now it's time to add some additional traits. It's worth noting that some of these will have an impact on how your character looks, apart from also impacting decision making and how people treat you. A lot of these traits get passed on genetically to your offspring. I'm going to be a strong giant, making me very capable in combat, but they'll say I fight like a warrior possessed, as I give myself the possessed trait to counter the cost of some of these positives. I'll also be improvident and, of course, disloyal. With skills, I want to make sure my intrigue and prowess are really high, which they already are because of my personality and traits, but I'll increase my martial and learning to 13 to represent my character's ability to lead soldiers and his piety. I don't need to be the jack of all trades, as my spouse can help cover the skills that I'm lacking, but I need to make room for one last trait that I'd like to add. So let's change my education trait to tune my character's point cost a bit, and maybe we're a little older too. It really becomes about what you want to prioritize in your character, and I really want to add this deep, dark secret. Our man is a cannibal. That's right. Our conversion of the Italian peninsula will be fueled by the bodies of the unbeliever. As we start our run, the first thing I'll do is distribute the lifestyle points I've accrued, here starting with a bunch because I'm a slightly older character. My education trait lines up with intrigue, so I'll advance faster down this set of trees, and more specifically, I'll pick skullduggery as my lifestyle focus to make my intrigue even higher and to make it easier to get people to join my heinous plots. I want to unlock the abduct scheme, so I'll choose my perks accordingly, and I'll secure a job done right to increase the likelihood of my hostile scheme succeeding. Since I still have points left, I may as well unlock the perks all the way down to schemer for the extra benefits to my intrigue and plotting. Next, I'm going to secure a wife to try and secure an heir. This will prove challenging since I'm surrounded by realms of a hostile faith, meaning there are no allies to be made nearby. So, any woman will have to do, even if they hate me. Fortunately, I can have multiple wives, and I should be able to secure my line. It looks like I've got somewhat lucky here. Emu has decent diplomacy and high stewardship. These are two skills I'm lacking in, so having her as my primary spouse will help balance out my weaknesses, and what's more, she's got the Amazonian trait, which means there's a chance our kids will have her Amazonian trait and my giant trait, making for even stronger warriors. Sure, they might also end up possessed, but that's a problem for the future. Being a lowborn, she's not resistant to the idea of marrying me, which is probably the best I can hope for. So, let's make her my wife. On the topic of people who don't like me, my liege, the King of Italy, absolutely despises me. I'll try and sway him over time to avoid any trouble, but I'll also use the perks I unlocked from my lifestyle tree to try and fabricate a hook here. This should give me some protection, but this is a ticking time bomb. I'll get my spy master to help me here, and as soon as my wife joins me, I'll have her start to help me with court politics to focus on my poor diplomacy skills. This will help as I ask my vassals to convert to my faith, increasing the chance of them saying yes. We'll start with my spy master, who's most likely to be a problem if he hates me, but before we go any further, I also want to offer to join my liege's current war. This is yet another way to have him hate me less, but I need to contribute to the war, so we'll have to raise our troops and march south with his soldiers in the hopes of doing something of value. As my troops muster, I receive word that my spy master has joined my faith. This doesn't mean he loves me, but it does mean he hates me less, and that's a good start. Now, let's turn our attention to the next most dangerous people in my realm, my vassals. All of them hate me too, so let's try and convert my most powerful vassals to my faith one by one as well. Luck remains on my side as another vassal joins the true faith of the Italian peninsula, and so of course I'll keep pushing said luck with at least one more powerful vassal. While I await the results of that attempt, my liege begins to march south, and so my troops follow suit straight to the enemy's capital. I receive word of Count Martino's conversion, but I need to focus on racing down south to the enemy capital as quickly as possible. News of my wife's pregnancy comes to me on the eve of battle, and it's a little suspicious considering how far from home I've been for the last little while, so I'll investigate. I am a paranoid individual after all, so it's only in character. And just before the battle is won, I hear word that I am in fact my future child's father, but my wife caught wind of my suspicions and is none too pleased. She'll just have to deal with it. A few months later, the siege of Bari, led by yours truly, is won, and as a consequence, the war leans entirely in our favor, as shown by the war score down here. Our opponent has no choice but to accept defeat, and so within a week or so, he surrenders. Victory is ours, and though I have pushed back Muslim progress on the peninsula in some ways by helping my liege against Emir Sultan, this was merely a stepping stone that perfectly matches my cunning character's inclination to plot out the long con. You'll see my liege no longer hates me. We're far from love and adoration, but contributing to this war has potentially bought me some time. With the physical war done, we can disband our troops and turn our attention to the spiritual war. As I plan to send my court mufti to convert some counties, my wife has been fighting a battle of her own, coming out victorious and granting me a daughter. She is Amazonian as well, but lacks the giant or possessed traits. Chances are I'm not the father here, but hey, my character was convinced, and so I remain convinced. With that done, we turn our attention back to converting some of our counties to the true faith, with our fastest potential target still needing 4 whole years for completion. One way to accelerate the process will be to give some of my Muslim vassals more land and hope they use their muftis to convert their counties too. We'll start with my spy master. Again, he's the most dangerous person to have dislike me, and handing him a couple counties will not only bring his opinion of me into the positive, but it'll also bring me closer to my domain limit. But I don't want to surrender too many of my titles willingly while my liege still stands over my head with an axe. He could strip me of my titles or throw me in jail at any point in time because I'm Muslim, and being a known cannibal doesn't help. So, until I'm able to secure a hook on him, preventing him from doing such things, I shouldn't weaken myself by much more. And as luck would have it, not only have I managed to fabricate a hook, but I've managed to fabricate a strong hook. Weak hooks can only be used once and then they're gone, but a strong hook can be used indefinitely with a few years between each use, and the protection it provides remains active between uses. I will gladly sacrifice some of my piety to secure this strong hook, since now my liege can't imprison me or strip me of my titles. That means I can safely hand more of my territory over to my strongest vassal, making him like me and bringing me within my domain limit at the same time. It weakens me in some ways, but hopefully they'll help me in converting my realm, and it'll prevent them rising up against me in rebellion. But perhaps more interestingly, this strong hook means I can force an alliance that would have simply been impossible otherwise. I can force my liege to give me his daughter's hand in marriage. The hook only goes so far. Her currently being the only viable heir to the kingdom means her children are the future of her family's reign, but I can't afford to wait for my liege to have a son. I'll let this marriage be a matrilineal one, meaning its children will belong to my liege's dynasty. But I don't care about that. I care about the powerful alliance this grants me. And so we demand the betrothal and further strengthen our position in the peninsula. I'm feeling a bit more cocky now, so why don't we go ahead and make a bit of a power play here? I'm an ambitious individual after all, so let's go ahead and invite the Pope over for a visit. I'm using another lifestyle perk that I unlocked right at the start of my run to have access to the abduct scheme, but as you can see, it doesn't look like we have a very high chance of success here. But that's okay. If we could just convince a few people to help us, we might be able to pull this off. Let's go ahead and take a look at the Pope's vassals. You'll see his strongest is also his spy master, a powerful ally to have in any scheme since he's supposed to be the one protecting their lord from said schemes in the first place. And wouldn't you know it, looks like he's susceptible to a fabricated hook. Our intrigue focus during character creation is really paying dividends here, not only allowing us to do these actions through our perks, but actually increasing the likelihood of success because of our stats derived from our traits. Almost a full year later, we find an opportunity with a small cost, and I see no reason not to pounce on it. Turning our attention back to the Pope, let's go ahead and try to abduct him again. We'll kick the scheme off, and immediately move to invite the Pope's spy master into the scheme with the help of our hook. A bribe wouldn't have been enough, so I'm glad I took the time to fabricate the hook first. Planning ahead is key, and patience is a virtue. While it does give us a nice chance of success, I don't think that's good enough. Let's go ahead and add at least one more co-conspirator and hope for the best. This is the highest our success chance and secrecy can get, so there's no point adding more potential loose ends to the thread. Shortly afterward, when I actually make my move, unfortunately I'm met with failure. Nobody was found out, which means I'm able to try again, and ambitious as I am, I'm not going to give up so easily. We're going to try again. As this plot progresses, my wife is pregnant once more, hopefully this time with a son, so that I can secure my line. And what's more, the king asks me to join his council as his spy master. This makes me the most dangerous man in the king's court, but between my swaying, my strong hook, our resulting alliance, and my extremely high intrigue skill coming from character creation, he had no choice but to give me this position. I will naturally accept. As my plotting and religious endeavors continue, my wife provides me with a son. This means my line is finally secure, as my daughter would not have been allowed to inherit any of my titles. What's more, this boy is Herculean too, so he'll be a great warrior like his father before him. Shortly thereafter, with a bit of a gold investment and a planned highway attack, we're able to finally have the Pope over to our place. We'll make sure his quarters are comfortable. Stress tends to make the meat taste bad. And now, as the new year begins and our mufti is just a month shy of converting our first county, I say we celebrate our successes so far with a feast. We'll host it in our capital of Spoleto, and its primary purpose will be recreation, the only option available to us anyway. We'll make sure to invite our liege over as an honorary guest. I don't have any options for dish complexity or the number of courses, but for a modest sum, this should be a great feast. We have a lovely time ahead of us indeed. It'll take some time for our guests to arrive, especially our guest of honor, but in the meantime, our mufti has completed his task. My realm has seen the start of the Great Conversion, and what's more, it seems as though my vassals have been hard at work too. My plans from earlier have worked out fantastically. Converting those vassals and granting them more land will aid me in my quest. The guests finally arrive and we kick off our feast. It's an eventful one, with new rivalries forming, a few good jokes, and of course, an opportunity to toast our guest of honor. But that's not why we're here. The king can't touch me, and so let's take this opportunity to offend him and to gain some prestige for myself. But that's not all. We have one more guest of honor. He's been visiting for the last 9 months now, and I thought it'd be a good idea to have the Pope for dinner. And with that, it's all done. So, my line is secure with a Herculean heir. Islam has gained a foothold in the heart of Italy and is beginning to spread, and with great ceremony, I have shown the Christians that their false god offers no protection, not even to the very head of their faith. I hope my public act of cannibalism in the midst of a feast sends a reverberating message through Christendom, and with the King of Italy as witness, and as my ally through betrothal, it seems I'm in a good position to continue spreading my faith without fear of imprisonment, title revocation, or repercussions of any kind, while making my ambitions very clear. All this was possible due to a carefully crafted character and a ridiculous amount of good fortune. The ruler designer in Crusader Kings 3 is a powerful tool. I was able to create a character with strengths and flaws, and I was able to use his strengths to circumvent those flaws in interesting ways. Leading my army in a crucial battle and siege, and scheming and plotting all came together here, but a completely different type of ruler in a completely different place would have their own challenges and strengths. The possibilities are endless. You could be a warrior poet in the Indian subcontinent, a Ghanaian queen seeking to conquer all of Africa, or, yes, a Muslim cannibal that eats the Pope and converts Italy into the capital of Islam.